You're listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast
with Doc Dylan
and Brandy.
We empower high performers with a three-part strategy of hope,
Self-agency, goals, and proven frameworks,
so that you can reach your potential
and the highest quality of life. How's it going, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Hope Not Nope podcast. At the end of last episode, we had an awesome hope story where we were kindly reminded that humans do matter. And honestly, let's be real, like, I hope that every episode that's a takeaway, because this podcast is meant to be about how to perform at a high level as a human and how to really live at a high level as a human and how to live a life of hope. And so this episode's a little nuanced, but I hope that every episode that's a little takeaway.
Yeah, the theme.
Yeah. So this episode is from a listener named Oakley, who says, I sprained some ligaments in my knee, my ACL and MCL, and have been reading about the potential benefits of peptides to aid it in healing. Do you think that it's worth the investment?
No.
End of podcast. See y'all.
End of
Just
podcast.
kidding.
No. But I do want to dive into as of why.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is that I am reasonably skeptical as to, do they actually work in human beings? And I'll talk a little bit about the research, but before I get into that, to care for the human, I think it's worthwhile to say I understand why people go to these things.
Yeah.
I understand why they go to peptides, PRP, keep the list going of placebo-based interventions that create a short-term effect, right? But they create it because of the thought or the perception versus the actual treatment itself, that I understand why people go to them. And I think it's for a few reasons. I think one is that when there's an injury, especially like an MCL or ACL, or any injury really, there's this urgency to heal. There's this urgency to get back. And we don't need to dive into why that urgency is there, but we know that it's there for an athlete or anyone that wants to perform, because there's so many variables that are impacted by that. And there's an urgency to want to get back. So with that urgency, what we end up losing or sacrificing is patience of how our system was already created to heal, given it that we have given it the environment and the resources to do so. With that being said, there's a ton of marketing on things that accelerate healing, quote unquote. You're not able to accelerate healing. You can put whatever science term you want to put to it. But the human body and the biology of it is so advanced and so unbelievably created beyond what we can imagine, that a simple thing is not going to accelerate it. Well, if we give it more resources, wouldn't that accelerate it? No, it's going to heal on the timeline that it was created to heal on. And a lot of people, when we look at injuries, we'll take low back pain, like not chronic low back pain, but acute low back pain. Over 90% of those cases heal within 7 to 10 days. This accelerates your healing. No, 90% happen within 7 to 10 days, even if the person does nothing.
Yeah.
Because of how incredible the human body was created. So we don't need to, quote unquote, accelerate healing. What we need to do is make sure that we're not delaying it. And excuse me, so often the stuff that we're using unintentionally is delaying it. We could go into the Rice protocol of how for years that was how we treated these types of injuries, sports injuries. And now modern research shows, well, that actually delayed the healing process. Again, it didn't accelerate it, it delayed it. Getting swelling out of the area, super beneficial for healing. We need swelling, we need inflammation for healing, but when we have too much of it, it can start to impede or delay the healing process. So these things, it's going to speed up, it's going to accelerate the biology. No, it's just getting out of the way so that the biology can do what it's meant to do. I think the other aspect of it, sorry going on a rant here,
I love it.
but the other aspect of it is when we start to put our resources into things that have not been shown to be effective in the research. And I know you're saying, well, isn't there research on peptides that has shown it to be effective? Yes, in little lab mouses. And I
Aw.
like that word better than rats, but you get the point.
Yeah.
It was done in animal research. Well, doesn't all research start with animal and then move to the human being? A lot of it does. And a lot of it does not transfer
Hmm.
when it gets to the human being. I've seen it time and time again with drug trials. You know, we work with a few people that have very, very challenging chronic conditions that a miracle is needed
Hmm.
to heal from. And research is trying to figure out, hey, is there a medication that can slow this disease down or a medicine that can turn it around?
Right.
And guess what? There's been a lot of them that have been shown in animal models to be effective. Then they get to the human trial and they completely flop.
Yeah.
The human system is very dynamic. It's very different.
It's not a mouse.
It's not a mouse. You know, we have the ability to have cognition and executive functioning, which is a huge blessing that other animals, no matter how much you love your animal,
Hmm.
they don't necessarily have that. You know, they face a rejection or a stressor, they don't carry that for the next week or month or year. They're like, oh, on to the next mate. Check out this dance. Maybe this one will work.
Yeah.
And oh, okay, moving on. But they
Yeah.
don't hold on to things that humans do. Like the human is a complex system.
Hmm.
And when we start focusing on these things that have shown to be effective in animal models, but not in human models, it takes away from the things that the science has shown consistently to be effective for healing.
Right.
And that's where the risk is that when we look at an ACL and an MCL injury, and we view this through the lens of it happened because of this one cut or this one event, not realizing that no, there's a lot of other stressors that led up to those ligaments being stressed, that when you made that cut or took contact or whatever, that the ligaments weren't able to absorb that.
Hmm.
They weren't able, your body wasn't able to adapt to it. Why? Why was it not able to adapt? Was it training? Was it capacity? Was there fatigue? Is there psychosocial variables in your life? We very clearly see in the research that people that have anxiety, depression, life stressors that have happened, that they're predisposed to higher risk of injury. So have those things been addressed? Have you had good nutrition? Have you had good sleep? Like I can say from looking at the research and from a decade of doing this, that when athletes get injured and you ask them the question of like, how was life leading up to that injury?
Hmm.
Most of the time, it's not good.
Yeah.
And from like a high school level of high level athletes at high school, why do you think the junior year is where we see the most amount of injuries?
Hmm.
It's the highest stress year. Recruits are looking at me. I got to get to colleges. Where am I going to go in life? I only have a couple years to figure this out. And there's all this stress on the junior year, and it's the hardest classes, and these injuries start showing up.
Hmm.
Oh, well, why? Well, there's a lot of things going on with that. And when we start to source this to peptides or injections and think that this is the thing that is going to quote unquote accelerate or not delay my healing, you miss the bigger picture. And that's where the fear comes in. So that's where we're at with peptides, is that the marketing is way ahead of the science. The marketing is this will accelerate the healing, and there's all these different peptides and injections and all this stuff, and the marketing is way ahead of it. There's a lot of people that have gotten them that then go to social media and they say, man, this thing really helped me. Like I was stuck with this, but now I'm not because of this peptide injection. Like you should be getting this peptide injection. And it's like, yeah, that's marketing. But
Hmm.
what does the science show? Well, the science shows that it's been effective in animal models. So we have to respect that. In human models, it hasn't been done to show if it's effective. It's
Hmm.
been done to show if it's safe.
Mm.
If they can show safety, then they can start moving into models to show if it's effective. When it moves to that model, Now we start getting randomized control trials, double blind placebo, and we'll see, does this outperform a placebo? If it does not outperform a placebo, we cannot say that it's effective. And it's not there yet. It's right now they're trying to see, is this safe in humans? And safety is different than effective.
Yeah.
Saline is safe. Does it mean that it's effective?
As a placebo.
As a placebo. And I'll just say that we've kind of been here before.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times in sports, man, we just keep like circling the wagon.
Yeah.
And we write in the book that like we need to stop studying the horses. Like, yes, it's cool to have this concept and for it to be researched and hey, maybe it does go to the human trial and show effectiveness. And then I'll come on and say, hey, you know what? This could be an appropriate part of management. But it doesn't change the fact that the other things need to be taken care of first before this injection. But we've just been here before with biological patches. I
Mm-hmm.
remember working in the clinic and the surgical group was doing bovine patches, regenerative animal patches onto rotator cuff repairs. It's going to accelerate the healing. It didn't.
No.
It didn't. And we've seen it with PRP. And oh, you want to get the orthopedic community in a debate, just bring up PRP
Yeah.
and its effectiveness because one group will say it's effective, the other one will say it's no better than placebo. The research that shows that it's not better than placebo is because they used the centrifuge wrong, they spun it wrong, and this and that. But no, you look at the good randomized control trials that centrifuged it correctly and did all this stuff, and it does not outperform placebo.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't outperform saline. The difference is you're paying out of pocket
Yeah.
to do that. So, you know, maybe you have a ton of resources and you can just throw away some money. Like,
Yeah.
great. If you don't, and you're thinking that this is the thing I should invest in to help my healing, oof,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you got to take care of the other stuff. You have to be disciplined. You have to be patient with the process. You have to not get in the way of it. And so, you know, for when athletes right now talk to me like, should I invest in a peptide? I've been reading these articles. Well, let's read these together.
Yeah.
And most of the time they come from wellness, like making this website up, but like wellness.com,
Yeah.
longevitychaser.com. Like those aren't research articles.
Yeah.
We need a private entity that doesn't have any skin in the game
Mm-hmm.
of stock or conflicts of interest that's typically done at a university level to study the true effectiveness of it because they don't care about the stock. They just care about, is this thing helpful for humans?
Right.
And that's what I like want to find out. And right now we don't have those. And most of the time there's a lot of other conversations we can have before we ever consider a peptide, a cortisone injection, different kind of story, but like
Mm-hmm.
PRP or these other things, these biological enhancements. There's a lot of other things that we need to take care of before that's ever even entertained
Yeah.
as a conversation.
Are peptides even like FDA approved right now, or does it have to get past the like safety in order to get to effective for
Yeah,
it to be approved?
it's kind of a mixed bag where once they show safety, then they can become FDA approved. Some are and some are administered by medical personnel, like
Mm.
physicians, nurse practitioners, things like that. But there's another host of peptides that are not regulated.
Mm.
And here's the thing, like let's take a professional athlete, or a collegiate athlete, or a high school athlete, or anyone competing where there's going to be blood test, and you go to a wellness clinic and get this injection of a peptide that's not FDA regulated. They don't have to tell you what's in it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you could just be going, oh, I'm getting this peptide. And then you do the blood test or the drug test, and it comes back, and all of a sudden you took a banned substance, and now you're suspended,
Yeah.
and you didn't know. And
No.
I do think there's a lot of athletes that are on the banned substance that get suspended from the ban from taking a banned substance that didn't know that they were taking it.
Yeah.
I think there's other ones that very much know what they're taking
Yeah.
and still decide to take it. But when some athletes go, I didn't know I was taking that.
Mm-hmm.
I strongly believe them because most supplements, most things in the wellness field are not FDA regulated. They do
Mm.
not need to report what is in there.
Yeah.
And you have to do your due diligence to say, is this something I should be putting in my body? If the risk is way higher than the benefit, why take the risk?
Yeah.
Like you don't, it's an unnecessary risk. There's ways that you can heal and get better that don't involve an injection from something that hasn't been shown to yet be effective in the research with humans.
Hmm.
And again, you're paying out of pocket for this. Well, insurance companies are against us. No, they prefer paying for stuff that might work.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to kind of speak on, I don't want to say it's my takeaway, but just something that I'm thinking of in the midst of everything that you're speaking about, mainly because I saw someone on social media recently and their whole like every post is essentially I just tore my Achilles, but I'm gonna heal in 5 months
Hmm.
because of my mindset. And one, I want to speak on like biology is still real. However, having a mindset, having a positive mindset, having positive self-talk, having mental tools to aid you in the healing process, that's going to help you more than this like rando peptide
Yeah.
injection. And I don't even know like what that account is and what their like thing is.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they're like trying to be like mindset oriented.
Right.
But at the same time, like biology is real. Like you need to you need to respect how you were created. You need to respect your body.
Right.
But doing things like having really great techniques for your mental performance during the healing and injury recovery is huge. Obviously, having quality sleep, obviously having quality nutrition, like these are things that are going to aid you again more than something like a peptide
Yeah.
will. And so prioritize that. Like if you're trying to heal faster, prioritize those things.
Right. And it's interesting because it gets down to like, what do you define as healing, right?
Hmm.
Is it that you can walk without a boot on? Is it
Yeah.
that, you can lightly jog? Or is it, a higher level thing of like, no, playing a full game,
Right.
right? And that's going to be different of
Hmm.
that. It's very well established in the research. For example, a torn ACL that's reconstructed. Sprain is a little bit different, but we still have a good idea of a general time frame that should heal in. Like an ACL, yeah, you can do the best rehab, and you should be doing the best rehab, taking care of the mental tools. It's still very clear that you should not return before 9 months.
Hmm.
Like it is very clear in the evidence that when you do that, your risk of re-tearing is about 50%.
Yeah.
If you come out back after 9 months, that risk goes down significantly. Is it harder to wait 9 months or 7 months? Yeah, sure. But like the biology is there,
Yeah.
the science is there. What's harder is to accept it.
Hmm.
And that's the whole thing with all of this is, and partly it's kind of on our like my field in healthcare that like a lot of athletes are going to these things because we have failed them.
Hmm.
Like we are supposed to be the best at teaching individuals how to load after an injury. And from what I see on social media and from professionals I talk to in the field, that's definitely not where we're at.
I mean,
There's
we met someone recently who tore their ACL. They got cleared from their PT. Their first practice back, retore it, and had to have another surgery. And it's
right,
like, no offense, but that like that PT failed you,
right,
or and the commute like the staff around them because they were in college, so there was more than probably just the PT. Like they
right,
failed you.
right.
They really did.
The whole team from the loading protocol to the return to sport protocol, hey, you know what? You're testing great at 7 months, but we're going to keep you out for 2 more months because the research is there
Yeah.
to do that. And so it's like a failure through it all. But like if we had good loading that the athlete was unable to trust, the reminder of being patient, the quick education points of how this all works from a biology standpoint and a load standpoint. If we had the ability to give improved coping mechanisms that we can look at and say, hey, we got to deal with some stuff while you're going through the injury, but we also need to deal with some stuff that probably was happening before this injury
Yeah.
happened. Um, we had strategies to help improve sleep quality. We had things that improve purpose, connectedness, community. Like now we set up that athlete for success.
Yeah.
Now that athlete isn't looking for these extra things that are really empty promises and what we call false hope.
Hmm.
And that's really where what I'm excited about what we do is that like no, if we focus on those simple but not easy solutions, there is great success in this. Like there's a lot of well-established science that shows how we can heal all these various injuries. The science is there. The ability for us to accept it is the biggest challenge.
Mm-hmm.
That we
Abs-
always want to speed it up. We always want to blame other things. We always want to find the shortcut. Well, oftentimes when you go looking for that shortcut, you create a longer path.
mm-hmm. I just want to shamelessly plug Dr. Dylan Caswell's Hope, Not Nope book because the book is like so high quality, and if you're the type of person, especially if you're going through an injury right now or you just had like ACL reconstruction or something like that, like this book, Hope Not Nope, is going to aid you. So, little shameless plug there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I got you.
I think covered it all
Yeah.
with peptides.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is there anything else you think from other discussions you've heard me had with peptides that I missed?
No, I think you covered it, and I also think that this is it seems very nuanced because it's like, oh, peptides, but honestly, I feel like we've had this conversation before
Yeah.
with a lot of other trendy things in the space, and I'm thankful that we're able to have these podcast episodes where someone who may not have looked at peptides but maybe looked at something else can type it in and then find it on our podcast, but
Yeah.
yeah.
There's always going to be the next injectable,
Yeah.
the next regenerative science, the next longevity supplement, the
Mhm.
next thing that you're missing, the next thing that's marketed. And the biggest thing I hear people say is like, well, if it is true, I don't want to be behind the eight ball.
Mhm.
But if you're not taking care of the things that we've talked about, you're behind the eight ball.
Yeah.
Like, start there.
Mhm.
Like, let's do that and build it from there. And this isn't just like an opinion, right?
Yeah.
This is like where the science is at. And it's also the athletes that we've worked with in the past 10 years that have far exceeded expectations. And part of it is by driving them away
Mhm.
from the empty promises that are available out there.
Yeah.
Because best believe athletes that are competitive, they want to know. They
Mhm.
have questions. And I'm more than willing to have these conversations with them
Yeah.
and direct them. And sometimes you got to let them go through it to find out that, like, yeah, that didn't work.
Mhm.
But there's always gonna be the next thing. So make sure you're equipping yourself with like, how do I actually know
Yeah.
this? Like, how do I gather research from credible sources? How do I check these things to make sure? Or who do I go to ask that can be trusted in the space that isn't marketing this thing
Mhm.
or selling this thing that can give me an honest answer of like, yes, no. Like, if there was a strong benefit, believe me, I'd be like, yeah,
Mhm.
like creatine, eh, yeah, take it.
Mhm.
There's years of evidence of the benefits of that, right? So it's not like, hey, nothing ever works. It's just let's focus on the things that have shown to work
Mhm.
over and over and over and over again in various trials from different research groups that all show the same outcome.
Mhm. Enough said.
Enough said. Hope story time. You
Yeah.
got one this week?
Yeah, I do.
Awesome.
Um, I just want to share about how awesome it is when you have the ability to have an open schedule and just let the Holy Spirit move in your day.
Hmm.
That happened to me recently, and don't get me wrong, like I'm a pretty organized, pretty structured person, but I had the opportunity to my personal plan was I'm gonna go to church and then I'm going to go home and I'm gonna take a nap and then I had something in the evening. Like I had kind of the plan planned out. But when you're open to the Holy Spirit's movement, sometimes God has a different plan.
Hmm.
And I had the opportunity to, one, hear that and acknowledge it. And then I could have just said, and still went home and took a nap. But instead, I listened to it and I ran into a friend who at church who I haven't seen in over 10 years. And I during I was like, man, I think I'm just gonna ask them if they're available because we could go get coffee or something. Like, I don't need to go take a nap. And so I did, and they were free. So I ended up getting to go get coffee and go for like a 2.5, 3 hour walk with this person. and catch up on life and our journeys and where life has taken us in the 10 years. And it was awesome. I feel like I could talk about it for years and years and years because of how like fueled and filled that moment was. And
Mhm.
just there were so many different things that the Lord spoke through that conversation and that time together, and really opened doors for a lot of future opportunities and reignited friendship and all the things. But I don't know, I think that we as a society need to be open to the way that the Holy Spirit is trying to move our day more
Yeah.
versus what our plan specifically is.
Oh, adding on to that, because that's beautiful, and it happened to me at a conference that I was at,
Mm-hmm.
and that's partly why I'm like clearing my throat just
Mm-hmm.
from all the talking and travel. So
Yeah.
I apologize for that, but I had my whole day planned. This is when this session starts. This is when lunch is. This is when I need to get to the airport. This is when my flight is. This is when I'm getting food. Like, took care of all the controllables that I could, which was awesome. Decrease the stress.
Mm-hmm.
But the part of the day that was the best is when one of the lectures got out early and I went to the lobby of the conference center and just started doing some work on my laptop and was just like, I'm just gonna hang out here for the next hour and didn't have any plan. It was just like chipping away at stuff. And two chaplains within the military came by and struck up conversation with me. And it was like honestly like the best conversation
Mm-hmm.
that I got to have during this 2 or 3 day conference. And it was like you look at my little notebook and I had every hour planned,
Mm-hmm.
just being in a new place and needing to get to the airport on
It's good to
time.
be organized when
And
you're
it's
traveling.
to be organized. And the best moment of the day was the thing that was completely unplanned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good to have structure, and then it's good to just also have the flexibility
Yes.
within that.
Yeah.
But don't miss flights.
Mm-hmm. Also that, don't miss flights.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening and thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that story. Sometimes I think we can get too structured
Mm-hmm.
and like anything, the dosage matters
Yes.
with
Yeah.
it. So have a great week. And remember, high performance isn't just about using the strategy of hope. It's about becoming hope.
Thank you for listening to the Hope Not Nope podcast. Please subscribe and share this episode. This podcast is for educational and personal development purposes only and is not considered health or medical advice. For personalized support, connect with a Hope Coach at hopenotnope.org.